Welcome to today's webinar, courtesy of the Kentucky Small Business Development Center right here in Louisville. We're all about hooking you up with free, super secret business coaching and training services. It doesn't matter if you're just dipping your toes in or gearing up for a big expansion. We've got the goods, the tools, and the know-how to help you win. To get the scoop, cruise on over to LouisvilleSmallBusiness.com or hit us up at 502-977-5800. Big thanks for tuning in to today's webinar. Feel free to drop your questions or chat it up with our speaker using the chat feature. Let's dive in.
Hey, welcome friends. Thanks for joining another Toolkit Tuesday. I'm Dave Beckham, the director here at the Louisville Small Business Development Center. So thanks for joining us on another Tuesday. I'm also joined with my good friend and coworker, Janet Flaw. Hey, Janet.
Hey, it's Tuesday.
Yeah, happy Tuesday.
It's kind of chilly here, actually. You know,
it's chilly here too.
Oh my gosh, it's really chilly today.
So just to make sure you can hear us and everything's working well, because we do have these challenges. If you just look at the bottom of your screen, you should be able to see your toolbar. And if you don't, just take your cursor and slide down there and it should pop up. And there you'll see the chat feature. You hit the chat feature and say hello, tell us your name and where you're joining from. I am actually joining from New Paltz, New York today. So just say hello and tell us where you're joining from. My favorite part of everything is just to kind of see where everybody's joining from. We get folks from all over. I don't know where folks come from, but it's great to see that they do. So, so JC is in Columbia, Kentucky. I'm in New Paltz, New York, and Janet still in Salisbury as always, holding the fort down. So just say hello out there. I know you're there because I can see you popping in. Can't hide from me. Hey, Frank. Hey, Steve, Louisville, our hometown. Hi, Lisa. Good to see you today. Thanks for joining us. Yeah. Anybody else out there? Say hello. Hey, Connie. Connie's in Lexington. Great. Thanks for joining us, Connie. So, we've got a great guest today, JC Phelps, who is also with the Small Business Development Center program. And he's a great resource. We call on him all the time. And today we're talking about tech tools for your business. JC's been busy today talking about all kinds of things with other folks. And so I'm glad he could fit us in today to share everything. So JC, how you doing today? I guess in honor, I should say, hiya.
Yes.
Hi, y'all.
I'm good. And you?
Good. Good to see
Glad to be here. Hi, everyone. Good to see y'all.
How's the weather in Columbia today?
Well, like Janet said, it is a little chilly. I think it's going to be a quite hot weekend, though. So maybe enjoy it, and then it's going to be hot.
Yeah.
I personally like the heat, but you know, it's occasionally nice to have a few cool mornings. Yeah.
Exactly. So, well, JC, we got a lot to talk about today, so I'm just going to step back. Why don't you share your screen? Let's get started, because I know this is something that everyone's really interested in learning more about.
So let me get the slides all the way up, and we will just get started. Thanks, Dave.
Right. Thank you, JC.
Yes.
So it's good to be here with you all. Louisville has a great intro. I was just texting Janet how much I love their intro to the trainings. I need to step up my game and do that as well. But I know we have people from all over the Commonwealth here. Just as a quick reminder, something I want to point out is that our program is statewide here at the Kentucky SBDC. And so no matter where you fall in one of our 120 counties, we have people around the state ready to serve you. And we do have two main services, or one-on-one business coaching and training and education, similar to what we're here for today. But as Dave said, I'm JC. I have been at the SBDC for about 5 years now. I started as a business coach, and now I work out of our state office as the statewide training coordinator. So working on things just like this. You can see my email address here on the screen. And Janet, too, if you want me to send you these slides to send out, I had forgotten to do that. Please remind me. I'm happy to do that if you all want to reference these slides again. But if you have any questions, always feel free to reach out to me there. It's just my name, jc.phelps@uky.edu. But today we are here to talk about tech, okay? And my goal today is just to introduce areas in which you certainly can leverage technology in your business and some ideas of the tech that you could leverage. You're probably not going to leave today with a plan ready to go, right? But I hope that you're going to have some ideas or things that you want to investigate to see if it's a fit for you. My number one piece of advice is this: we all have different levels of tech savviness. I'm relatively tech savvy, but there are people in this network that are more tech savvy than I. And for your small business, because you have such limited time, and I know you all are wearing many hats, my advice is to use tech that works for you. Only utilize tech that you can continue to keep up with in the long run, right? And make sure it's something that you can do consistently. It shouldn't be something that you're pouring more into than you are reaping. It should be something that you reap more than you pour into it, right? That's the point of the tech. We all have different opinions or different experiences with tech, though, and how much we use. And some of you may be thinking, I hate technology. I'm not going to use it. And I hear you. It can be frustrating, but just making my case here before we divide it out into areas of your business, why tech is important, right? It certainly increases our efficiency and productivity. I would hate to think how unproductive I would be if I didn't have some of the tools that I'm going to talk about today and others in my own life and my own business, and also here at the SBDC. Tech helps us communicate and collaborate in ways that we never could before, which again feeds into that efficiency model. If used correctly, it can enhance customer experience, which again is what we're here for, to create value and to drive revenue for our business. That revenue can turn into a higher profit and later a profit margin if we can save some money. Again, tech does cost, but if you're using tech that you can leverage and, reap more from, in fact, you could be saving money in the long run. But tech is also used to remain competitive. My thought is that, tech is here to stay. And if we want to keep being competitive on the market, being legacy can only take so far. We've got to, kind of adhere to some of this and use it to scale. As I mentioned, today's training is going to be broken up into a few different sections. And the first one I want to talk about is AI. And you may have opinions of AI. I think we all do. I do. I'm a web publisher. That's the world I work in, and AI is very much changing my industry. I think not for the better in so many ways. But what I recognize is that, AI and these emerging technologies, these solutions for your business, it's almost at some point it's going to be a get in or get out type of thing. We all have comfortability that differs, but I urge you not to be fully afraid of AI. I think it's been integrated into our lives longer than we give it credit for. For example, if you're typing on Gmail and you're emailing and they have predictive text that helps you, finish your sentence, that's AI. That's been around a long time, okay? Siri, all of these things, they're AI. But there are a few things that I think are very useful in small business, and I'll go through each of these, but I want to talk about ChatGPT. I want to talk about Otter.ai, and there are other ones like that, and I want to chat briefly with you all about chatbots. Now, ChatGPT, probably the most popular of the AIs. If you have not used ChatGPT, I encourage you to play with it. I will tell you, again, both as a business owner and educator here at the SBDC, I use ChatGPT every single day and multiple times per day. ChatGPT for me is almost like an employee. I use it as a thinking partner, most certainly. It helps me save time because it can help me deduce things quicker than maybe I would on my own. It can help you manage ideas. It can remember previous information with your login. It can actually detect and use multiple languages if you're not multilingual, right? And this is extremely useful. If you're planning out your marketing posts, if you're trying to deduce, something in terms of figures, there are many ways that you can use this in your business. And ChatGPT with both a free and a premium version, I think is very necessary. What I use it most for, though, is ideation, getting new ideas for what I'm doing and using it for marketing purposes. It is my thinking partner, and it makes me far more efficient. But we're here today in a Zoom room, and we're going to talk a little bit about Zoom later. But I want to bring up that AI, if you're leveraging it in your business, it should cut time, right? Tech should cut your time commitment. And I think one great way to do that is through a software called Otter, or there are other options. This is otter.ai there from that first slide. What otter.ai is, as you can see here, it can integrate into Zoom or to Teams or Meet or whatever it is you use in your organization. It transcribes your meetings and your conversations with a pretty high accuracy. It detects different voices. So it would know that Janet was just talking, and then Dave was talking, and then now JC's talking, and it will mark that. And these transcripts that you have for meetings, especially if you're managing employees, so very important. These are searchable. And so if you're thinking back to that meeting that you had, and you're like, what did Janet say about X? You can go look at it. This might save you another meeting, right? Because you have the answer. It saves you time, and it gives you a resource that you can look back on. You also don't have to worry about transcription. That's something that is very laborious. And if you're anything like me, I trust this a little bit more than my own human error. And so if you're doing online meetings, an AI software like this is a great tech solution for your own reference. Okay. And this one may be a little bit more controversial. And I do want to tell you, we're still in AI here, to use these things with caution, certainly, but when set up correctly, they are great. On your website, on your social, everything like that, you can set up a chatbot. I know the Louisville SBDC has this on their side. I think if it's like not normal business hours, it will say like, "Hi, I'm Dave. We'll get back with you," or something like that. Chatbots provide 24/7 customer support. What I recognize as a small business owner, as a knowing working with you all here at the SBDC, what you all do, I recognize that you don't have time to be operating your inboxes at all times. And so if you work with a chatbot that you can integrate to answer questions, to resolve issues, to send your business hours, right, to things that are, FAQs. Chatbots can schedule appointments online, depending on the integration with your website. All of these things can be tailored to be excellent for you. It's like having an administrative staff person or more 24/7, and you may only be paying the small monthly fee, if there even is a fee associated. Another thing about chatbots too, as you are looking at them, depending on where you're located and your need, many of these chatbots, excuse me, also have the ability to be multilingual, and so that can really help your customer experience, but also help you out, right? If that is something that is not offered in your business. And you could even train the chatbot to say that while we may not have a fluent speaker, I'm happy to help you, and they can answer the question. But let's pivot. We started with AI. Let's talk about marketing. Marketing is really my thing. And I feel like there are a lot of tech solutions to make marketing easier. I was just giving a marketing training right before I hopped in to this training with some restaurant owners. And I want to make a couple points here. My opinion is that we should always be lean in our business. And so I implore you to explore the no cost or the low cost options first. And if one of those works for you, all good. And I hit on this in the beginning, but again, tech should work for you. There are tech programs that might be your absolute favorite that just do not jive with me. And there are many, that I've tried over the years that I simply don't like. And that's okay. You may. And so try it out. Many of these have free trials, even if they have expense tied to them. I encourage you to do that, but don't forget to cancel in case you no longer plan to use. The last thing that I'll say before you invoke some third-party softwares is that our marketing platform, social media, they are really advancing their native schedulers and assistants, meaning like on Facebook and Instagram, you can use the Meta Business Suite. That is something that I would encourage you to continue to look at first, and then you may choose to supplement. These things are, again, for efficiency, but are not the end-all, be-all. Something that I want to point out, a lot of people, I think, ignore this, but, data shows that email is not dead with that conversion. And so if you are not collecting email addresses somehow, some way, through reservation softwares, through a pop-up on your website, whatever it might be, I encourage you to do so, signing up in your place of business. And you will want to use an email software to communicate with those customers with an assigned regularity. I'm going to talk about just one today, and that's MailChimp, but there are so many. And again, I would really look at price point. These email softwares tend to be priced by the number of addresses that are attached. Some of the other ones we're going to talk about is Hootsuite, Buffer, Sprout Social, Later, Canva. And then again, I want to remind you that a lot of these capabilities are built within each individual platform. If you have not used an email software before for your business to communicate with your people, I think this is a great one to start with, a pretty large one, household name in this industry. But again, there are several. But what you want is one that is easy to use and can handle the amount of addresses that you have. I personally have used MailChimp for many years, and then I pivoted when my email list got to a certain size. But MailChimp is great because it has so many automated features of how you can do campaigns to drive sales. That could be something during seasonal promotions, maybe it's near Derby time, whatever it might be. Great analytics on platforms like this, and it can integrate with e-com platforms. For example, this is not e-com, but I'm a WordPress user, and it was very easy to integrate. Integration is something you need to think about as you're planning technological softwares, because if it doesn't integrate with what you already have, it's not going to be the best solution for you. Okay. There is a free, very small, limited version of MailChimp if you have a very small need. But just to tell you a little bit about prices, while these do go up, the monthly plans start at about like $10, $12, $13, something like that. And then they just continue to go up. But that's all I'm going to talk about email, whether it's that or another. I encourage you to think about an email text solution. The email text solution that I actually use is actually through my ad agency, Leslie. So I hate to give you that answer, but I work in online publishing, so it's not one that's necessarily accessible to the public. It's for publishers just like me. Ones that you may want to look at, there are ones that offer more like MailerLite, LITE. You might want to look at that one. It is a great option. But if you're looking at any of those, I'm happy if you want to shoot me an email, we can chat about that too. But look into MailerLite, and I can send you some more recs as well. But I too moved from it. I do think it's a great starter, but it just depends on your need. It's a great question. You're very welcome. I appreciate you. Hootsuite, we're going to talk about scheduling. I'm just going to go ahead and tell you, I do not use a scheduler for my own posts. But I was just talking about this in my last training. I like to natively post. It's something that I truly enjoy. Most people feel overwhelmed by posting on social media. And if that's the case, you may want to look at something like one of these softwares to help you manage the postings on your account. On social media, it's critical, above all else, to be consistent. And so if you need to use technology to help you schedule and do so, that's what's important. You don't have to post every day. What you need to do for the platforms, though, is to post with a regularity that you can keep and establish and keep, rather. Hootsuite is a great one. It is very centralized. It is accepted by all the platforms and recognized as an industry leader. You can schedule and publish here. The monitoring of engagement analytics is excellent. But I will say Hootsuite is not the cheapest. There are many other options that come in at a much smaller price point. So while an excellent one, and if this one proved to be the right one for you, I think absolutely the price is justifiable. But there are some that maybe you could look at that might solve the same issue for you. Buffer is one that I have personally used in my social media world. Again, I don't, use one at this time, but it is extremely simple. And that's what I like about Buffer. The interface is very, very simple, very easy to content plan and to manage your content across platforms. So a great tech solution for that. And again, the analytics are really important. That's something that I think we must continue to monitor. You want good analytics with anything you're using with social. There is a free version of Buffer if you have very small needs. And then the plans, start as little as $6 per month. And so, of course, going up based on your need, number of posts, number of platforms, but a very affordable option here. Photo's a little blurry, blown up. I apologize about that. But Sprout Social, another one of my faves. But similar to Hootsuite, this is a big mainstay brand. As all the ones I'm choosing are big reputable brands, but this is kind of a leader, which means that the price is going to be higher too, unfortunately. But very robust. The thing that Sprout Social does is that it has a feature called social listening. It will listen across feeds. It helps you monitor things that may be of interest for your brand. And it also integrates with many CRMs, which is something that you may want to consider. This isn't, again, probably where I would start, only due to price point, but it is a solid option. But to give you a final option in the cheaper, more economical area I'll talk about later, actually maybe the one I have used the most in the low price point scheme. It is extremely visual. If you are a visual person, you will like Later. It is used a lot for Instagram, Facebook, and the Meta products, but across platforms. Why I like Later is that it's easy. And I've said the others are easy. Later is super easy. It's very much a drag and drop type of thing. And I'm a fan of that. It also helps you manage that user-generated content. So if you have a business that people are posting about, there are features within Later that can, help you grab or manage that content, maybe repurpose if you have permission to do so from the original poster. And I am a significant fan of that. Later comes in starting at about $16 a month. And so again, tech is not free necessarily, but if, for example, it made you consistent on social, and this was the interface that worked best for you, in my personal opinion, very much worth that nominal investment. on a monthly basis. You can usually pay for these softwares, and any tech software, by the way, for annually for a discount. I encourage you not to do that though in the beginning, only because, again, I want you to be sure that you want to use this or a specific platform. Let's talk about one of my faves. I have led a training about this many years ago, actually. I was just reminded of this in my last training here at the Louisville SBDC, and wow, have things changed since then. This photo when blown up is a little blurry too. I apologize, but many of you all are probably familiar with Canva. Canva has an ability to pre-schedule onto platforms and does integrate, but Canva is really becoming more and more dynamic. They're launching many new features. They just had a new beta program, and many things are developing. I am a marketer. I'm not a graphic designer. I am personally horrible at that. And I use Canva very much for that. Similar to later, it's very much drag and drop. I like a drag and drop interface because I'm all about working smart, not hard. And Canva allows me to do that. You can upload your own imagery very easily into it, and or you can access their wide library and plethora of options. It's easy to use with the team, but I think people just think of Canva in terms of graphics, maybe. But I do want to say that it's far more than that. If in your business you present, Canva presentations are wonderful. I make all my invoices on Canva. I make my analytics reports for my campaigns all on Canva. And so actually the thing I use Canva most for is creating my invoices. So anything that requires a design or something aesthetically, needed for your business, it is something that you may approach here with Canva. So a few marketing solutions mentioned there, but let's pivot. We're still in the digital world, and let's talk about tech in terms of POS systems, e-commerce, and websites. A question I have historically received a lot here at the SBDC. One thing I want to say is that everyone has their own way of tracking their business activities, and I'm cognizant of that. However, I feel it necessary to use a POS, point of sale system. And Kimberly, I see your comment. It's very affordable, Canva. I actually didn't share the price. Canva can be free, or if you have the pro version, it can, it's like $15 a month and very much worth it. I'm with you on that. But, I know many people who operate their business through an Excel spreadsheet. And that's simply so inefficient. You're going to love a POS system once you get used to using it. And so we're going to talk about that and integrations to site. There are many POSs that are popular that may be best for your business to contingent on what it is that you do. I think one of the biggest is Square. We're all familiar probably with Square. It's the little thing you can go into a phone. You can have your setup kind of with an iPad. These things export what you sold, quantities of what you sold, numbers in just a snap of a finger, instead of having all sorts of manual entry. If I think a business should have one piece of technology, it's something that's tracking sales and what's being sold, because you can't make strategic decisions without having the correct data to look at. And entering this manually, I just can't even imagine. But some people are hesitant to this. I would encourage you to at least look through some of these. Shopify has a POS system that's quite popular in retail. Lightspeed is one. Again, you can use Square and these others for any of these. Clover and Toast, you often see in the food and beverage restaurant space. But if you are not using a POS, this is where I would start. The first tech solution. Your mind and your time and your quality of life, I think, will very much thank you. POSs track sales. But one thing I think that people don't fully remember in the long run is that technology should be used to help us drive sales, right? We're posting on social media to, of course, grow our brand and to make sales, but e-commerce, having a website, whether you are a brick and mortar or, mixed or just e-commerce is a significant revenue driver for businesses. And these are absolutely tech solutions. I've listed a few here, and I want to talk through a few of them. But there are things you need to look for when choosing an e-com provider. Once certainly being price points, but also what you need. If you currently don't have a website, if you set up a Shopify store or a Square, also using their POS, right? Really nice to fully integrate. Their website builders are very easy to use and they look quite nice when done. And so those are two really big ones. If you currently have a WordPress website, powers the majority of the internet. I'm a WordPress user of over a decade. They have an e-commerce integration called WooCommerce. So most website builders, if you have a website already with one of the main providers, they have an e-commerce tech solution that you can add, whether that be at an additional cost or at no cost. And that's usually something that is scaled. BigCommerce, another one, but I do want to point this out, depending on the size of your business. Etsy, obviously being the big one, but eBay, Poshmark, these things are e-com too. This is diversifying your revenue stream. I did a training in Paducah last week here at the SBDC, and the gentleman I presented with was really dynamic and interesting. And we were talking about e-com, and he runs an eBay store and has 100,000 listings. That is insane, but he's an e-com business. It's what he does. He sells, auto parts and parts to tractors and things like that. And so I encourage you to realize that, yes, you may just use one of these, but at times there may be a need for a combination. And I see that as diversification. I think you should start and try to excel at one, but I also think that you meet your customer where they are and allow the tech to allow you to get there. Just a couple things I want to point out. This is the Square website. You can see the different price points. The POS systems with the websites, they have usually transaction price points. And so as you can see there, excuse me, I transitioned, like there is a free version, 2.9% plus 30 cents. The premium version is 2.6% plus 30%. That's of the sale. And you can see different things that it allows you to do. Mathematically, I encourage you to realize that sometimes paying $79 a month can be less expensive if that difference in 0.3% is $79 or more. And so something to think about, but you can always scale your online tech as you use it. Again, price point is absolutely something you should be thinking about though when you're choosing an e-com or a POS provider. Shopify may be one of the largest. You can see right here. This is their price points. As you can see, most people use the first or the second. And as you can see, there's a difference if you use their POS online or in person in the fees, but it just depends on how much inventory you have. But again, start small. Don't just think you need the biggest plan. Actually read through the parameters if you've never set up an e-com store and make sure you're not overpaying. That's certainly not what we want to do. When you're thinking about tech though and how you're going to leverage it in terms of web, one question that I always get is, where should I build my website, right? I get it all the time. And I have some of the big ones here, and let's talk about it. My ultimate suggestion is this. Some people have someone build a website for them. I would highly encourage you to ensure that if you do that you maintain access to the site, that every edit and, control doesn't live with them. You need to own your own website. I unfortunately say that from hearing from many others of very poor experiences. But you need to use a website provider that is that you are able to use and that you feel comfortable using, or whoever is doing it for you feels comfortable using. I've mentioned I personally am a WordPress user. That doesn't mean WordPress is for everyone. It does power the majority of websites on the internet, but it is not always the easiest interface. I think it's pretty user-friendly, but certainly one to look at. Some of the easier ones that you may want to look at that are maybe slightly below like a WordPress would be like a Wix or a Weebly or GoDaddy. They make it very simple, and some very successful websites have leveraged those. I do want to mention Squarespace, though. I think Squarespace aesthetically makes it pretty easy to have a gorgeous website, but it is easier to use than WordPress. That's my personal opinion. And lastly, Shopify, Square. Again, if you don't have a POS and a website, you may consider using it all in one. It's going to make your life easier if you do that. And you can set up a pretty good e-commerce website through those. When looking at these providers, my advice, I was making sure I didn't have the next slide. I'm thinking back to my e-commerce training. My advice is twofold, especially. Certainly look at your price point, and what these are offering, but look at support. Even though I work in web publishing, I run into questions all the time. And I've always joked that WordPress probably has my face on a dartboard, because I email them or I message them almost every day. What I pay for WordPress every year, which is not that expensive, is very worth it to me. One, the website is my business, but two, they have 24/7 support that is wonderful. Shopify, great support. I want to use something where I can ensure I can ask questions. And this webinar, Tech Solutions, how can you leverage tech if you can't find the solution of how to use it? I think that's a preliminary answer. And so as you're gauging your technologies and their worth, certainly look at how well they are, supporting you as the small business owner. We're moving out of the marketing and web world, and I want to talk about two more categories, one being accounting and finance and one being communication. What I'm hoping you're realizing here is that this webinar is divided in sections for reasons, and that's that there are tech solutions for everything almost in your business. You may not need to leverage as much tech in one as the other, but what I may implore is that there may be things that you struggle with more or that you feel could scale higher. Those are the ones I would approach first, right? Because you're going to get the highest return on that tech investment, both your time and your money. But accounting and finance, it always shocks me how minimally some business owners keep track of their financials, their revenues and the sales that they're making, tracking all expenses comprehensively, not just a few, right? Getting down to what their profits are. People really don't have, oftentimes, a really great grasp of what their financials look like. And you cannot do so unless you have your accounting and finance logged in some way. Having a good POS system very much helps here. But I wanted to introduce just a few options for you. Before I even get into these four, again, all the things I've presented today, not your only options. But here in accounting and finance, I have one big recommendation. For me, imagining that most of you all work with a tax professional, CPA, my advice is to use a software that they use or that they recommend, because if something happens and you need support or you need to, share something with them, if it's something that they use and you can easily share, you're maybe looking at a lower hourly rate of work that they're going to bill you, but also better work that they can give you because it's something they integrate with. And so when I was pivoting a software, my decision really was made by calling my CPA and said, hey, what do you recommend and what do you use? What would you like your business clients to use? And their answer, in fact, guided me. So I'm going to talk about QuickBooks, Xero, FreshBooks, Wave, just a couple options. You all, I'm sure, have heard of QuickBooks. Obviously, such a huge one, very comprehensive in tracking your invoicing and expenses and your financial reporting and your sales. Many accountants personally are Team QuickBooks. I like how it integrates with many different payment platforms, but also banking platforms, which makes it a little more user-friendly. Now, QuickBooks can be very complex. And if you dive into it, of course, I wouldn't quite say any software like this is that user-friendly. But, for basic purposes, many people do find it friendly. And my advice, again, when you find one that works for you, is to stick with it, get your process down, and then the tech's going to work for you with the least amount of time investment that you might need. Pricing plans on all of these very much differ, again, by how much or how great your need is. But maybe you don't like QuickBooks. Maybe you haven't heard of Xero, a cloud-based accounting software. This is specifically for small businesses and has a great, integration for accountants as well. Really easy to use for invoicing and bank reconciliation, managing your expenses. They have a lot of integrations just like QuickBooks. And because this is geared for small business, they certainly have plans that are a little bit more friendly to the small businesses with the scale up as needed. And so just like with everything in tech, you'll find scalable plans. Another user-friendly one, I think all of these are slightly more user-friendly than maybe the complex softwares like high-end QuickBooks, but again, it depends on your need. FreshBooks. FreshBooks was really designed for self-employed people and small businesses, again, to track times and expense management, your invoices, all the things that you need to do. But it is very simplified. And I like a lot of the workflows when I demoed FreshBooks. Their mobile app, as you can see here on the far right, you can see like a computer, a tablet, all of these things. The mobile app is very user-friendly, and that's what a lot of people chat about with FreshBooks, is having that on the go, and proves to be quite affordable too. Again, this was designed for self-employed people and small businesses. With that reason, a little less fancy looking, you can already tell maybe just by the transactions, but another option in that same wavelength is what's called Wave. And Wave is a tech solution for your accounting that's suitable for, very small businesses, for freelancers, entrepreneurs, and they even have a free option. Now, there are, of course, paid plans on Wave, but if you have a very, very small financial and or accounting need to track, might be a place to look, because there is a free plan. It's not all free, but it may be very applicable to you. For additional fees, they have other services like payroll and things like that. But I think you'll find that it integrates a lot if you explored their website with many things, and it is very simple. I do think that going back to FreshBooks, maybe a little bit more aesthetically pleasing, a little bit more modern, but Wave certainly gets the job done. Does have reporting, as you can see here in the graphic, but the free option, I felt like I had to bring this one forward. But again, my advice is to work with your tax professional, see what they recommend. And again, it needs to be a platform that you can understand and that you can use and you feel comfortable using. Before we roll into some question and answers potentially, that I think Dave and Janet very well will have thoughts too on, I felt like I would be remiss if I didn't have a section on communication and collaboration. I think this is one of the biggest uses of tech. And a few of these things you're probably going to think, well, duh, especially what we're on right now. But I find that sometimes things that we use, sometimes even in our day-to-day life, we don't always integrate necessarily into our business. And I'm guilty of this myself, and I'm not really sure why. But tech should absolutely be used to work with your team, to collaborate and to communicate, and to communicate and collaborate outside of your organization. There are many communication tools. Many people use Slack. We use Slack here at the SBDC. Zoom, guess what? We're on Zoom, yeah? Project management. Just to hit on these things are, again, only useful if the team has a buy-in, if your team can use it, and that it will be appropriately leveraged. Slack helps you very easily find information. You can use it to store files based on things, to direct message. It can be quicker than, or easier if something doesn't need to be a full email. It can just be posted on Slack. A great internal communication tool and technology for your business or your organization. A lot of people are pivoting to using a platform like this. Again, not the only one, but if your organization is inundated with email, or you have communication issues, or you need to make sure that your employees can go back and point to something, right? They can reference, they can search, right? This has a search bar. It's so wonderful. I know JC said blah, blah, blah. When did he say that? And what was it that he specifically said? This makes your life so much easier. And it is easier than go through this than it is to go through an inbox with 8,000 emails. So if efficiency and communication is a goal, a platform like this for internal and this is internal communication, may very well serve you well. I laughed when I put this photo in here because obviously Zoom, we're using Zoom right now, but I think we use Zoom to connect with organizations sometimes, or to dial into webinars here at the SBDC, but we don't realize within our small businesses what Zoom can do. In an inflated economy, in a tough economy, in a time where we need to preserve costs, I do think, first off, there's something to be said about interpersonal face-to-face interactions. I'm a talker. You've learned that by now. I teach for a living. It's what I like to do. And I certainly love to meet one-on-one. But if something in your business, whether it be meeting with your team, meeting with prospective clients, meeting with clients, if it can be accomplished over this with a free plan or a premium plan if you need longer, it's going to save you gas. It's going to save you lunch expense. It's going to save you all the things that you inherit in terms of expenses when you are in person, coffee, whatever it may be. It also makes your day more efficient. You're not having to drive, from the east end of Louisville to downtown to a meeting in Portland, and then you're back in Germantown, right? It can be just as easy as a click of a button. I've been in 2 trainings today, and it just took a button to click. So while we all, I think, are familiar with Zoom, obviously we're using it, I do think that we don't always leverage it for our own good. We use it because something is set up on it. But I want you to think of a software like this as a cost saver. If you can eliminate it, or it can be done over Zoom, do it. It's similar to the opinion of, hey, why have a meeting if this can be an email, right? Why have expense for yourself if you can have a very easy to use text solution to eliminate expense on your end? Lastly, I mentioned a couple project management things. There are many big ones. There's Trello, there's Asana, there are different ones at different price points. Again, when you're looking at tech, use the free demo time that you have, and don't forget to delete it if you don't continue to use it. But if you are managing a team and you certainly need some assistance with task assignment or collaboration, deadline or milestone management, things like this. You can see here what's I've been doing, and Maria and Amy and William, and you're looking at your to-do list. to make sure everyone's on the same page, every person on this team has access to this. There's no if, buts, or ands. This tech solution makes it apparent, right? Who's assigned to do what? Who needs to do what? When is it due? And as you can see, whether it's marked red over capacity or there's an issue, those things are made clear. And so I think a project management tool is a really good tech solution to look into, because it certainly makes one's life much, much easier. So before we get into question and answer, just to wrap up, tech should work for you. You may not need a project manager. Maybe you have a really good project manager in person that does that, and maybe they still need to use this. Maybe you need to use it for marketing. Maybe it's for communication or collaboration or getting new customers in the door. Maybe it's to gain new ideas and to leverage AI. Maybe it's to chat via customer service. Maybe it's to leverage your website and e-commerce in new ways. Tech is everywhere. Accounting, finance, it touches every faction of small business. And so what I would most encourage you is to conduct, a little quasi needs assessment for yourself. Where is the greatest need for you? Where would tech or where would a solution benefit you most? And you're ranking in a hierarchical way there. Start there. And when you start there, you can then proceed to integrate as you go on. Do not use tech that is out of budget. Do not use tech that you do not reap more out of than you put into it. That should be a multiplier. You should put in just a little to tech and it should give you many great things. And if that's not the case, you're not using the right technological solution for your business. That is my spiel. I'm going to go ahead and come back in here into the main Zoom room, see if you all have any specific questions. Again, Dave, Janet, we all, use different tech solutions, certainly. The Louisville Center is very tech savvy. And so any questions that you all may have, I'm sure we're happy to answer, but I appreciate you all having me here. And I hope you have a little running list of things you may want to look into.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was great, JC. Thank you so much. That was a lot in a short period of time. Yeah.
I'm being efficient. That's what we do with technology, Dave. I've got to be efficient with this hour.
That's right. That's right. We do have a couple of questions, Chad. I think you answered most of them, but I think it'd be wise just to kind of filter back through, especially about, we talked quite a bit about email, and Leslie was asking about what you specifically use. I think you answered this, but let's just go through that again. She says she's ready to move from MailChimp into something else.
And so again, MailChimp, some people always stick with it, but again, these softwares, you have to make sure they work for you. As your email list builds, you may find that the price is prohibitive and you need to move elsewhere. Again, what I use something that's tied into an ad management that's, specifically for internet publishers like me. But some others that I have heard many people use is MailerLite, so LITE, something to look into there. I have had clients and friends use Mailbird. I know that's one. And there's one that's on the tip of my tongue that I'm trying to remember. I personally, this is, again, may not be the solution for you, but in a group, that I'm in for small business people in my industry, a lot of people have moved from MailChimp to like a MailerLite. I know that is a pretty popular one, but there will be several options. The market is inundated. And because of that, because supply is high, and there's the possibility for substitute, don't settle for one. Make sure that you're using one that actually accommodates what you need within your budget, because there is a substitute out there, I assure you. But really watch those top limits, because email can get quite expensive if you don't watch out.
Yeah. So you just talked quite a bit. Let's diverge just a second, because you talked a little bit about the platforms. So share with us a little bit of your best practices for email marketing. I mean, I think it's a powerful tool if done right. So what do you recommend?
So I appreciate that question because I think email marketing is not always correctly leveraged. Um, I think people think email is kind of old school, but here's my opinion on email. Email works if you make it work for you. What you cannot do in any form of marketing is just constantly sell, 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 right? We don't want to be sold to at all times. And so, two huge recommendations with email marketing. The first one is to set a regularity, but no one wants to be emailed every single day, right? I mean, as much as I love all of your small businesses, and I know they're amazing, no consumer, if Old Navy's emailing me, 6 times a day, they're out, right? I'm unsubscribing. And so, email truly when you have something of value to provide. But that feeds into my second point. What email should be leveraged for is to provide and to enhance consumer experience. So, of course, if you're launching something new, fresh, exciting, that's a great use of maybe a sales pitch. But make your email something that your customers can't afford not to click. Give them an email specific or an email exclusive discount code. Give them something, an exclusive, if you're an e-com, let them shop it first, right? Before it's launched to the public. And if you build that trust, if you make your emails valuable, psychologically, people are going to click those emails and say, hey, yeah, I can't miss that email from Dave because I saved 15% last time, right? Last thing, of course, the tagline on email. Not every subject line is created equal. And if you want someone to click, you need to make sure it stands out, within, the hundreds of emails that we all somehow get a day. And so those would be my 3 pieces of advice. But I always think you should provide value. There are people I always open emails from because I think I'm going to save money or, do something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So we just have a couple of minutes left, but here's a burning question that I have. So of all the stuff that you talked about today and laid out, how would you string all that together in a system for your business? A lot of this stuff is customer facing, some of this is internal, but it all has to, in my mind, build together. So like if a customer comes in one way, it also has an interface with everything you talked about today. And what would be that string that you would say, if I'm going to build something that's pretty cool, and maybe it's exactly how you do it now, how you lead a customer through the journey, and then take care of them from start to finish. And these are all tools that would do that, right? How would you do that?
Absolutely. Again, tech, just like anything, should be a funnel, it should be a lead magnet, it should follow the consumer on their journey. And while I have brought up, many different sections, my opinion is that there is a top there. And the top is that, and again, I'm a marketer, so I'm biased, but I think it really starts there. And it starts there because you have to think about how tech is going to funnel people into the business. And of course, how you get it out is through marketing and advertising. Once you have funneled someone in, your e-commerce platform and your websites matter. How is the consumer experience? Is it easy to navigate? Is it easy to make a sale? Is it easy to get the information that you might need? They then make a sale that ties into the POS. Is your POS easy to use? Is it easy to check out? The harder it is to check out, the bigger the risk you run of them leaving. If they need customer service, are they utilizing like a chat bot, right? If they have a question that they can answer. All of these things feed in from customer acquisition to sale, which is how we generate revenue. But to me, it starts with being person-centric, and that must start with in marketing, in my opinion. And because marketing is so digital, I think these other things follow. There's nothing to track in accounting and finance if we're not deriving revenue from people that are entering the business. And so with tech, I really do think it's a digital human focus, and I would follow it from there. But that process I would probably set up first. Yeah.
Great advice. JC, this has been so much fun. You're such a great speaker and so knowledgeable. Thank you so much for sharing all this with everyone.
Thank you all. I had so much fun. I appreciate you all being here. And I look forward to doing it again.
And you will, because we'll pull you back time and time again.
I will say, I thought that was great advice to when you started talking about MailChimp, start out with something that is, built for your business right now, but also look for, growth in the future. I know another place I used to be at, they ended up buying this program that was essentially like a rocket ship when all we really needed was an SUV sort of thing. And it kind of bogged down, you know, everybody trying to actually make the piece work within, you know, a smaller company. And yeah, just get what you need now, make sure it's something you can grow with, or there are options to grow. So great advice there. Thank you.
It's kind of one last thing I'll say. It's kind of like, you know, we subscribe to all these things personally. If you ever look at your credit card, you're like, oh yeah, I have Netflix, I have Hulu, I have, you know, all these things. These business expenses really do detract from your bottom line if you're subscribing to all these. One thing may not seem like a lot, but $40 here and $50 here and $100 here. I mean, the number really does grow. And so a free or a really low cost option and only scaling with need is going to make you more financially lean. Yeah.
Well, JC, thank you. Thank you very much. Janet, thanks again for driving the ship. Couldn't do it without you.
Thank you.
And if anybody, if you want to hit up JC, he's always available. Just go to KentuckySBDC.com and put in a request. You need to talk to JC. Need some help. We're all here to help, and everything we do is free. So please reach out to us. So
I will. JC's going to share the slides with me, and I'll send that along with the recording, and we'll get that out to you guys.
Yep. Well, thanks for joining us for another Toolkit Tuesday. We really appreciate it, and hope you have a great Tuesday, and we'll see you next week. Thank you, JC. Thank you, Janet.
See you all. Bye-bye.